Welcome and good morning to Mike Ferry TV, the week of May 24th. Okay, the good news is for really most of the world, and especially the United States, is a lot of the restrictions for COVID, as we are all aware, are being lifted, effective June 1st for the state of Nevada, where we reside in Las Vegas. No more masks, no more 6-foot social distancing, no more plastic trays protecting us from this terrible, terrible thing we've all been through for a long period of time. I think the hardest part of what we all have to adjust to, and we started doing back in, I think it was probably the 1st of April of 2020, we introduced a program called Adapt. And of course, now I'm going to be talking about a new program called Readapt. And that is to try to work back to a more normal lifestyle, not only personally, but also most importantly, professionally for your business. In talking to brokers over the last 3 to 4 weeks on a regular basis, which I am very lucky to do, we've discovered that it's very difficult to get a lot of the agents to re-participate and to re-energize and to re-establish their positions inside the companies they work for, because we've become so used to working remotely. And it's kind of fun. I had a great conversation with one of our long-term clients from the East Coast about a week ago. And he said to me, Mike, what's interesting, and his name is Bert, he's a wonderful guy. Bert said to me, Mike, for all these years, I was the first one in the office in the morning. I was always in a suit and tie. I was the last one to leave, and I was always very productive. And then with COVID, I started becoming more relaxed, and I wasn't getting dressed up, and I wasn't leaving the house. And virtually the whole mentality towards work has changed, and unfortunately, not always in a positive manner. As you've heard me say time and time again, the number of people doing transactions in volume is shrinking, but the number of transactions they're doing is increasing, which means there's more people, unfortunately, maybe some of you that are watching today, they're doing less and less. At the same time, average sales price keeps increasing, which means your average commission check is getting bigger. So it's an interesting dilemma that we face today. So I'm going to talk a little bit today about getting you re-engaged in the real estate business at the level you should. In 1975, when I started the company, which was June of 1975, I went up to the Los Angeles area and I spent virtually 4 or 5 days on one street called Ventura Boulevard, which at that time, there must have been, I'm going to guesstimate, in a 3 or 4 mile stretch, 100 real estate companies. And I decided I would go virtually door to door and just talk to the people sitting at the front desk. Because remember, in the 70s, 80s, early 90s, somebody had floor time and somebody was sitting at the front desk representing the company, answering the phone, handling walk-ins, etc. So I really just wrote down one question. I had a clipboard and I was trying to really do something that made sense to anybody that responded, and more importantly, would make sense to me in delivering a message to all of you. And the question I asked was, what is the biggest problem or challenge you face? And I think I went to just under 100 real estate companies over the course of a week. I would walk in the door, who's ever at the front desk, I would ask the question. They would often say, well, who are you? I'd say, Mike Ferry, professional speaker, doing training seminars in real estate. And I was just curious, what is the biggest problem you face? And I had my clipboard in my hand. I think it was about 92% of the answers that I received was the same. And it revolved around the words time management. So I came to the conclusion that the biggest challenge we face in real estate is, of course, time management. So when I look at that problem, because it is a problem for almost everybody, and that problem really was accelerated during this COVID pandemic time from early March of 2020, really through today for many, many people. The biggest challenge is trying to manage your time working from your home. And as you've heard me say time and again, if you were a single man or woman and you are raising kids, it was even more challenging. And I mean, my heart goes out and empathy goes out to all those people that were dealing with that particular challenge, because not only were you the mother, the father, the principal, the school teacher, the home caretaker, you the cook, you were everything, and trying to be a real estate person. So I wrote down, scheduling your time still is the biggest challenge an agent faces in building a continuously productive real estate business. And the question is why? And the answer, of course, is because we are independent contractors and we have the right to do whatever we want to do or not do anything at all. Okay. And of course, I wrote, if we don't have a schedule and we don't manage our time, we can sure look busy for a lot of the time. So in talking to the brokers over the last 3 to 4 weeks, I keep saying to the brokers, are the agents re-engaging and coming back into the offices? And universally, the answer is no. Whether I'm talking to a broker that has 25 or 50 agents, or a broker that has 75 to 300 agents, getting people to re-engage and participate is the challenge. So I am going to say to you, I'm going to give you a couple thoughts on time management, but re-engaging, readapting, renormalizing your life, which all of us have to do, is really what's going to make the difference between your maintaining the production you have today, which may be fine because the commission checks are so big, or it may be something that you could grow dramatically if you chose to. And it starts simply with this thought. You have to learn to control your morning schedule. Your morning might start at 6, it might start at 5, it may start at 4:30, it may start at 8, it may start at 10 o'clock. I don't know when your schedule for the morning starts. But that first few hours of the day is the vitally important part of what makes a day work. And you know this. If you are, for example, re-engaged and going back into the office, and you walk in at 9 o'clock and you see one of your best friends who's also there, and you get into the normal conversation of how have you been, what's going on, and you go through that for 10 minutes, and then let's run to Starbucks and get a cup of coffee, which is very common, and we all do that. And then we're at Starbucks for 20, 30 minutes, and then we come back to the office, and now suddenly our 9 o'clock start, it's almost 10:15, and then we have to check our emails, which we do, and then there's a couple problems with a couple pendings we have, and then of course we have to check Facebook, and next thing you know, it's 12:30. And we have had no control, none, zip, nada, of our morning schedule. Every single productive agent I talk to, and I'm very lucky that we not only coach hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of very strong producing agents, but I'm doing webinars, and we've done probably now close to 700 webinars since April of last year through yesterday. If I think about all the people I've been talking to, all the ones that are productive say the same thing. I've got control of my morning schedule. So then I wrote down this thought for all of us, having a precise schedule, hour by hour, virtually, of what you're going to do. And you can call it time blocking, you can call it what you want, but having no schedule, if your schedule looks like that when you get up in the morning, that isn't going to work. But if it looks like that, it means you have things to do. So I wrote, having a precise schedule can solve almost any production problem you deal with. Keep in mind that your day should be spent in income producing versus anything else in terms of activities. Why? Well, first of all, most people, if you're doing 5, 7, 10 deals a year, you really don't have a lot to do for 40 hours a week. Now, if you're doing 40 or 50, you got a lot to do between your activities and creating transactions and managing any part of a team or an assistant that you might have on staff. But the preciseness of the schedule, because see, here's what I want you to think about. If you had a real job, and we're going to talk about that in a few minutes. If you had a real job and you had to report to work at 8 o'clock, there would be certain activities you'd have to accomplish to maintain and keep the job. It's just called a normal life in work and in business. Well, real estate, if your schedule looks like that, which is blank, versus that, which is full, and you get up and you get ready to go to your home office, or you're getting ready to go to your physical location of your company, and it's 8:30, 9 o'clock, and it says, at 9 o'clock, do this, at 9:30, do that, 10 o'clock, do this, Do that from 10 o'clock to 12. You have something to do, and that is going to spur you on, maybe out of guilt, to become more productive. Have you got a precise schedule? Well, Mike, I don't like the schedule you recommend because you want us to prospect. No, I want you to do everything you can possibly do to be more productive, because there's no reason why you can't. But then I wrote down this thought. You have to determine the 2 or 3 most common distractions that you have, and you have to work hard starting today to eliminate those distractions. See, if you sit down with a pen and paper and you actually look at the course of a normal day and week, there's certain distractions that take place all the time. And if you're working from your home and your family is still there with you, which is very common because some of the schools are still not doing the classrooms that we're used to, and they're still doing things by Zoom, etc. If you're sitting from your home office, whether it be your puppy or your children or your spouse or the phone ringing or somebody knocking on the door, there's going to be certain distractions that are taking place. How are you dealing with them? If you're working from your office, whether it be Facebook or answering an email or handling a problem client, there's certain distractions that take you right off your schedule. You've got to learn to deal with distractions, because distractions will cost you time, production, and money, and allowing them makes those distractions then part of your actual schedule. But then I wrote down this thought, okay? Maybe you should consider treating your business as if it were a real job. Most of you had a real job at one point before real estate. Some of you have been career professional realtors. Hats off to you. But if you ever had a real job, you were being paid X number of dollars. So I've used this example on many of the webinars that I've been doing for the brokers and their agents. Can you imagine if your broker said to you, I'm going to guarantee you $200,000 a year salary for being a professional real estate agent, plus I'm going to pay you a little commission on each transaction you do. So your opportunity to make $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 a year is vastly accelerated in your favor. However, here's the catch. The broker says, I have a schedule Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and it starts at 8:30 and it goes until 5, and these are the activities you'll be involved in if you want to receive your paycheck. How many of you would accept that? And every time I do a seminar, I always say to an audience, how many would accept that? And they start to raise their hands and they kind of go, well, I'm not going to let somebody tell me what to do. That's the problem in time management. That's the challenge in being a real estate professional. Watch, you have to take the advice of somebody that can help you move forward. So if you were to treat real estate as if it were a real job, and you were to get paid enormous amounts of money, which you have a right to do, and you certainly could earn in real estate, you have to think about the activities that are involved. And what are the activities? Obviously, returning any phone calls from the day before. That's critically important, because the biggest thing we see in real estate today is nobody answers their texts, nobody reads their emails, and nobody returns their phone calls. We get these complaints every day through our coaching clients. We can't get agents to ever return a phone call. So then we have to, of course, do some lead generation, whether it be 30 minutes, an hour, or 2 to 3 hours. If you come to our Superstar Retreat and we're going to present to you all these step-by-step blueprints from top producers, every one of them has lead generation as part of their blueprint for succeeding. Lead follow-up. Probably you're going to spend 15 to 30 minutes a day on lead follow-up, making sure the leads you have are qualified and motivated and you're trying to set an appointment. Then pre-qualifying is part of your productive activity days. Preparing for either a listing presentation or showing property. If it's a listing presentation, preparing the pre-listing package, getting it out, and then going on presentations. Well, Mike, if I did all those things every day, my production would skyrocket. Hello! Isn't that the objective? So having a precise schedule, treating it like a real job, eliminating distractions, is the name of the game. So here's the good news. I wrote down, we're getting closer and closer and closer to the restrictions being lifted. As I mentioned, in the state of Nevada, on the 1st of June, virtually in another week, no more masks required. The vaccinations have been done in a high volume in the state of Nevada. All the restaurants are back at 100% capacity, sporting events, the shows are being reignited. It's going to be back to normal for the state of Nevada. And I know many states have already experienced that and have already been there, and a lot of states are moving towards that. The most important thing is that you get re-engaged in the activities that are involved in listing and selling real estate. I want you to write these dates down: July 13, 14, 15, 16. July 13, 14, 15, 16 will be our first live Superstar Retreat since July of 2019. So it's been now 2 years since we've done a live Superstar Retreat. I'm going to cover in depth. Now, I want to also say to you, on the 13th, we're going to go from 10 to 4. The 14th and 15th from 9 to 4. And on the 16th, which is Friday, from 9 to 1. We'll take the appropriate breaks to appropriate time for lunch. We're going to do everything we can possibly do, well, along with the Venetian Palazzo facilities, which are beautiful facilities, to make this comfortable and 100% safe for all of you. But what I'm going to cover in depth is my Mike Ferry sales system, steps 1 through 21. And I'm going to be giving you 3 or 4 thoughts on each step, basically to sell you on you and what you can accomplish and do using the advice we give. But second, and this is going to be fun, I'm accumulating as we speak 25 blueprints. And the blueprints, which are kind of fun, I started these about 8 years ago. And of course, like almost everything we do, most of our competitors are now using blueprints as the rule of thumb for how they teach real estate to all of you. They started about 8 or 9 years ago in Anaheim, California, at an action workshop I was doing, where I asked Valerie Caro and Tony Smith, I said, outline step by step how you built your business. And each of them presented me 10 to 12 steps. And I introduced those at our retreat. And I tell you, it was one of the highest responses we've ever had. So now I'm bringing it back again because everybody's now using the blueprint as the reason for their success as a speaker, trainer, coach, and agent. I'm going to present 25 of those blueprints to you, not only verbally, but I'm also going to give you a copy of each agent's blueprint. So you can send them an email, you can send them a note, you can talk to them about how they built their business. Our office number is 702-982-6260, MikeFerry.com. Call and get registered for the retreat. If you're part of our elite broker system, you know that you're paying 50% less. And if not, just buy a ticket, get involved, get re-engaged. And for those that are terribly uncomfortable, which we certainly understand, it's also going to be done live stream virtually at the same time. In either case, think about time management, think about your schedule, think about your morning routine, think about your distractions, thinking about being very precise that most of your day is spent in productive activities. Think about the fact that if you had a real job, what would you do? And with those thoughts, thank you for today. Have a great week, and we'll talk to you next week.